Ruthless Ruben on the owners, and Ruben being honest with his squad. Loads of content to come from the embargoed version of Ruben Amorim's press conference ahead of today's game against Fulham. Massive game in the FA Cup, as we know. Touch of yellow, trying to brighten things up before anybody goes into it. I have just sat down and seen myself on camera and thought, that is quite bright. So, just to put it out there straight away, I'm kind of matching up with the actual screen right now, and I love the actual display. But yeah, we have got a ton of clips to actually bring through onto the show today and talk about. I want to get your opinions on everything that Ruben said, how you see what Ruben said, because he has been quite honest again. He's had one of them Ruben Amorim embargoed version press conferences where he's just laid it all out on the table again, and Ruben has just been his usual self, and he does actually say in the press conference that we're going to bring up in little bits for you in the show this morning that he is just an honest guy and he's learning on what he is actually doing. And again, I said this on Friday after the original press conference, and now part two's come out. It was the Sunday morning papers, like we thought. They've had their piece of flesh, and they have got it asking the questions that probably they want for their articles today, and which you're probably going to be reading in the newspapers, but also they're asking the same sort of questions but in a different way, and I think because it's new faces in the press conference within the room, I feel like they can get away with it, and Ruben can obviously not be looking at exactly the same faces he looks at every single press conference, because not everyone's there all of the time. So yeah, there's a lot going into this game today. We did see snippets last night of Ruben talking about Fulham and what they're bringing. I think it's all about Manchester United. It really is. And in this press conference today, he has, or on Friday, and what we've got the embargoed versions of, have really gone to town on what he feels about the owners, about the Manchester United squad, about what's going to happen in the summertime, how he actually calls situations. And he goes back, I feel, in this press conference to what the standards are at United and what he doesn't like within characteristics of certain players. And so kind of goes back a little bit towards the Marcus Rashford days, in my opinion. You can listen to it in a moment. I'm going to bring it up on certain quotes, and you tell me what you think is actually what he's actually going down here with Ruben, and what he's actually saying and what he's getting to. But to me, he seemed upbeat on Friday. He seemed like he was quite confident after a win in the week. It does look like everything is sort of picked up a little bit. Obviously, Garnacho has gone out and bought everyone a dinner for his misdemeanor or whatever. I do believe, and I said this last night, that he will be on the bench, not because of the not, because he's just basically being told by Amorim. I don't think Amorim liked it. He has dealt with it very well. The good thing is that Garnacho went to him first of all. That's been put aside, but I do believe that Ruben Amorim just has this aura about him where the players will know exactly what's going on all of the time with him, and he's just going to deal with every single situation there and then and get it all wrapped up. I'm going to go into the first one, which is him being ruthless in terms of, and on this I feel he's getting at, and you tell me in the comment section after this as well, I feel like he's getting at how he is with players and dealing with certain situations. And players that are actually working for him. Kind of goes right back to his earlier days at Manchester United when he first walked through the door.
I was going to ask him.
Not that one, this one.
When I see that if the team are trying, and I understand that they are trying but they cannot do it, I'm not ruthless. I don't like to be like that just to be or to show strength. I just understand, and I have the feeling. I have the feeling what I'm seeing, because you can have two similar situations, but the context is completely different, and I'm trying to understand everything in my team to help them to be better. But when I feel that is something that is going to harm the team, I'm quite ruthless, because I know for sure that we are not going to win with certain behaviors.
Clearly showing there that if you do put the effort in and you want to get better, then you will be all right with Ruben Amorim. He won't go in on you. So it does kind of show you exactly where he's at with this squad. He is saying there for me that anybody that doesn't have the right attitude, and I think that's everything. Remember the early days, the way you eat, the way you dress, the way you walk, the way you speak to people around. It goes right back to that Manchester derby sort of time, this, and in terms of what Ruben wants. So if the players are clearly not good enough, and there's another part that comes in this press conference which we'll go to in a minute. he's always going to have time and he's always going to be honest. And I feel he's always going to be giving players a chance in this squad and for Manchester United this season if you have got the right attitude in training, if you're willing to work hard, if you're willing to actually go them extra yards, even though you're not getting it and you can't figure it out, you are still going to be getting the backing of the manager and the coaches at Manchester United. It's about the application. It is everything. And this is what we've talked about a million times on the show. It's like these players not putting in the right application, getting away with things, being rewarded for mediocrity. And when you've got an ownership model behind something like this, it changes the whole culture of the football club. And I think that's what he's alluding to and getting that in this in this press conference, especially in that clip there anyway. But I'll ask the comment section and see what you think on this one. I mean, get your comments in. We're on interactive mode again, everybody. Make sure that you get all of your likes in. Make sure you get subscribing to the channel as well to make sure that you can get into the live chats and get your comments in. Have some conversations in there like many people already have done. And it's like Wesley, Lance, Adam there. Hi, Adam. I truly agree what Solskjaer said. It's difficult for Amorim. He inherited the players. He hasn't got the players he needs to play his formation. Give him time. And a lot of these players are still here from the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer era. And what Solskjaer, by the way, congratulations. I think Solskjaer's Ole's on about 6 wins in a row now with Besiktas. He's on great form. So well done, Ole. Hopefully it all continues to go well for you over there in Turkey, mate. But yeah, what Solskjaer was saying, I feel, is bang on the money in terms of everybody knows that these are Solskjaer and Ten Hag players in this squad. And let's be honest, it hasn't been the best years between them two managers before Ruben Amorim stepped through the door. So a lot of work is needed, a lot of work is necessary, and I feel like there will be changes in the summer, and there will be players coming in and out of Manchester United by the bucket load. But Ruben Amorim alludes to that again. So when he talks there about players giving the maximum, when he talks about players working hard, not quite getting it, he isn't going to be as ruthless. He doesn't want to be ruthless for the sake of it, just to hold power. I think that's important in what he said there. He's just not making this stance and everybody has to fall by his rule. He understands that some players have better capabilities than others. Some players will get it a lot quicker than others. But it's up to you. It's up to the player with the right attitude to then get into Ruben Amorim's head. Like, if he can coach you better, he will. And if he doesn't, then if he can't get the best out of you, even though you're giving maximum, then that's when the changes are going to come. And I think this is the next bit of this press conference that I wanted to bring up on top of what he said there about being ruthless and not being so hard on players that are trying. But ultimately, in the end, decisions will need to be made.
Yeah, we can talk about that in the end because it's hard to. We have a lot of games still to play and to talk about, but that is clear, and I think that is not a difficult situation because everybody understands that in football sometimes you stay, sometimes you have to move on. If you know how to explain, for me it's easy. If I know how to explain, I can do it without, and I like to do it because I want to be clear. When I was a player also, I try to use all that experience. When you are honest with someone, they can take it like, in the beginning it's hard, but they will understand. So I'm quite honest with my players. And
being honest with the players, that is everything that I feel Ruben Amorim needs to be in terms of what's actually happening at Manchester United right now. You've got managers that have been in before. Ten Hag, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. They haven't had the right ownership behind them. They haven't had that structure that wants to go down a certain avenue. And I feel like this is where Manchester United are at right now with Ruben Amorim. We've made that start. We've been ruthless with the current playing staff. We've done what we can in January. He's trying to give every opportunity to players in his squad if they've got the right attitude. And then if it comes to it, unfortunately, and like he says there in that clip, he is going to have to be completely honest with the players, and they already know that there is going to be big changes, and a lot of the players know already, and he alludes there just to the general football environment that players know. Players know in professional football that everybody moves on. It's just part of the job, and that's what happens in football. But I think he feels like decisions are going to have to be made throughout the summer with certain players, and big decisions are going to have to be made throughout the summer with players that we all know need to be out of the football club. Look, we're all for the work ethic, we're all for the right attitude, but sometimes it just comes down to a player just not having the right qualities and not having the right players to fit the squad. Like what Solskjaer said, you could have someone running up and down that pitch, putting in absolute effort, 10 to 15k a game, whatever it may be in terms of work rate, but if you've not got the quality on the ball, or you don't understand the system, or you've got the footballing IQ to actually understand what Ruben wants, then it's pointless Ruben Amorim keeping hold of you. And in a way, Ruben coming in now, at this stage of the season, and having to deal with this now, I feel is probably a good thing for United. Whereas him coming in the summer and actually dissecting the squad, looking into it, having a full pre-season, that would have been great. And we might have got a little bit more out of the season. Right now, this actually, when you look at it, coming in now, mid-season, all of this carnage and all of the uproar that's going around Manchester United, Ruben dealing with this, he can just go into this first summer and just go bang, bang, bang. And that's ultimately what Manchester United have always needed. He's seen these players for what they are, and he's got time to look at them, train with them, figure out what their capabilities are, and then in the summer he can make the right decision. He can go to Ineos and say, look, this player is just not working for me. Just so you know, he's not going to be playing. If you can get a move for this player, then away we go. And that's how the summer is going to be. But he does actually go into as well, and it's the next clip I want to bring up from Ruben Amorim's press conference. He does go in on the ownership side of things, and that's the plan. So you've got the players that he's trying to work with and give him maximum effort. He doesn't want to be fully ruthless with them and come down on them, because he can see them trying, and he will give everything that he's got to them players. But then he's actually had to be honest with his players and tell them that some of them are not going to be here at the end of the summer, and going in on the players actually already knowing that there is a lot going to change in the summer. I mean, we know there's about 5 players that are leaving on a free contract anyway, so I think he can be alluding to that and talking about that. But also, on top of that, it has to be aligned with the ownership model. And then he starts talking about the owners and what their vision is and how he has to be in line with them, but what he does understand about what is going on right now as well, because a lot of people have said that he has been thrown under the bus with the ownership, and there is, I see it, I see the argument with that. But he was asked the question, and I'll bring it up now for you actually, about whether he was told everything that was going on at Manchester United, and whether or not he is actually in the full know of what the full situation is, pretty much, at the football club.
I was going to ask, I mean, there's a lot of negativity around the club, but is there anything positive that you can offer the fans going forward?
I think I see a clear path, and I see that from the board also, because they are doing also difficult changes that they are not popular, but they are doing, but because they have a vision, and I think that is clear. But in the future, we need to show some results, because you can do a lot of changes, and if you don't have results, people don't feel confidence and happy, and that is winning games. It doesn't matter.
I like to talk about Ruben Amorim's press conference quotes and everything like that, but obviously I like to just bring in the old clips here and now and change up the content for you all, just so you can see, because a lot of people wouldn't have seen the second part, the embargo version of the press conference from Friday, but that there pretty much lays it out. You usually get the brutal and the more cutthroat stuff in the embargo version of a press conference, and Ruben there, I feel, as like he always has, he's been completely honest. And when he's talking about the owners there and he's talking about their plan, he's actually talking about, he understands the tough decisions that not many people are liking at the moment, and he brings it back again to the first team. It's like, if everything is okay on the pitch, everything off the pitch isn't talked about as much. And that's always going to be the case for United. He's starting to understand. In that press conference as well, he was asked whether he'd learned anything, or whether he's changed, or he feels like his coaching has changed since coming into Manchester United, if he feels like he's a better coach. And he came back with the answer saying, look, no, I'm not a better coach, because the results have got worse. And he's just been completely honest. So when you've got that, and you've got this grace period, you could say, of Ruben Amorim being thrown in at the deep end, everything being thrown on top of him, all of the situations, everything that Ineos are doing, which is causing uproar amongst the fans, the environment, like he says, with the players and the staff and everyone around Manchester United being low. He actually understands what Manchester United is. And this grace period right now, I feel, is probably the worst and the best thing that can happen to Manchester United. The worst being where we are in the league, and people like myself and all the other fan base, everyone else in the fan base talking about how poor this Manchester United side is. But this going into a summer with Ineos behind Ruben Amorim, I feel is there is only one way it can go, and that is drastic change. And the only drastic change we can make, because we know we haven't got a lot of money, is players leaving. And this is like the full-on rewriting of the script moment for Manchester United going into this summer. And I feel like we have got the right coach in place. And yes, we've talked about the younger players coming through. You need that blend of young and experienced players. You cannot just go through a season with young players. I daren't go back to "you don't win anything with kids" quote from Alan Hansen, but that quote probably today is true because the league is completely different, and we haven't got the same calibre of player in our first team right now to be bringing these younger players through. So that, again, like we said yesterday, I think that it is crucial that we do actually get the transfer window right, and we do actually bring in a mix of younger and older players into Manchester United, because it cannot just be the younger players. That's not going to work. We know this. And what I think Ruben's saying there through all of that press conference, the embargo version, is he understands the situation with the ownership. They've been honest with him. They've told him what's going on. He understands. There are bits of it that he probably didn't know. There are bits of it that he's probably learning on the job with. But he probably thought the players that he was walking into were going to be better. He probably thought that he would be able to get better results. He said I think it was in a post-match, I can't remember if it was this one, he expects to win all of the home games. He expected to win all of the home games. He is a man that's obviously coming to Manchester United thinking this is the great Manchester United again. Another manager that's come in and been completely taken aback by what's in front of him. And you cannot fix everything in one half a season. Right now he sees all of the players for what they are. He can see what the owners are doing. He can see the situation in front of him, how difficult the league is, and what he's going to have to do going forward. And in the summer, I think we're in a good position to actually attack it full on in the right way this time, because it feels like there is a structure behind it. It does feel like things are being moved around in places. And I do think there is a real understanding between Ruben Amorim and the structure at Manchester United. I know we're not happy with Ineos. I know we're not happy with the Glazers. But at least what we can say and pick out one positive is that we have got a man who understands the fans, who understands the club. And in just 3 months in charge, Ruben Amorim has been completely brutally honest with everybody at the football club, from the players to the staff to the owners to the fans, absolutely everybody. And we know exactly what's going on. And I don't think we've ever been in this situation before. Like, obviously, we've heard about things and we've heard about what was happening with the previous ownership when it was on its own without Ineos. But since they have come in and brought Ruben in, I feel like he's just opened it up for everybody to see. And I think it is a little bit more understanding of to what is going on. We knew that the club was running into absolute chaos and running down a blind alley. We knew this all along. But now at least we know that there's a manager in place that isn't going to cover anything up. And I think that's the most important thing for the fans anyway. And what I'm taking from it anyway is that we have got a future with this coach. I just pray that the ownership do back him when it comes to the necessary decisions, because I think that is the only thing that's going to stop Ruben Amorim, the ownership. And everybody's watching Ineos. Everybody's watching Sir Jim Ratcliffe right now, because if he doesn't get it right with Ruben, the fan base is gone now. Like, they have given up pretty much on this ownership and everything that's happening with Manchester United off the pitch. If they bring it down on Ruben, then it's game over. I feel like I think the club will be just going out of complete control, and this will send everybody over the edge in terms of wanting to give Ineos time. I know a lot of fans don't want to, but some actually want to see what happens in a few years. I think if it goes wrong with Ruben, then I think a lot of fans will see the end. And they won't be any way back from it. That's how I see it anyway. We'll get into the comment section and let me know, everybody, on all of them quotes and everything that we've talked about so far. Let's have a good chat about all of that. Let's back him, give him his own players. A big summer ahead. Thanks for that, Z41 with a super chat. Cheers, buddy. We have got another super chat in the house as well. I'm just going to bring it up right now. And that's come from Auntie L. Says, true winners appreciate other winners. Love Amorim. There you go. Block, who has just renewed his membership 13 months. I think last time I seen you at Old Trafford, I'll probably see you today, mate, was your 12th month, and now a month on. We're in there. Adam, hope to catch you outside Old Trafford later. I'll be in the usual spot, but don't you worry. I'll see you there, Block. Last time we spoke, I think it was before Palace. I'm sure it was Palace. And I said we're going to win, so I'm not even going to give you a score prediction today, mate. I'm just going to keep my mouth shut. And I'm just gonna hope that the players can actually do something. Liverpool, Newcastle, City and Arsenal will all be buying big this summer in the market where we can't compete. You can say goodbye to Garnacho, Højlund and Mainu this summer and bring in who? And bring in who? That's not for us to decide, mate. That's not for us to decide. That's for the structure to decide, isn't it? Look, we've all got our favourite players. I like Osimhen. I would love Osimhen in. He might go somewhere else because of the reasons that you just described, Brett. I also like Delap. I also like a plan. And I like something to be in place. And I can see something developing here. So, yeah, I will judge it in the summer. If it isn't a good summer, and we've still got the majority of these players, and we've still got players that have underperformed clearly and Ruben's had an issue with, I kind of start falling down that road of, well, I don't see any light at the end of the tunnel. I don't see anything changing at Manchester United. And unfortunately, it is going to be, again, at Manchester United clinging on for odd performances and picking up the odd trophy here and there. Really, this needs to be the start of a plan to go for the Premier League. And that's how huge this summer is. So where I get where you're coming from, Brett, I totally get it. No one else is going to stand still. And United are already miles behind. This is where I believe that you need to get players in, and I think United are working on players right now. For instance, like Quenda coming in, you could have players like Delap coming in, I don't know, Jonathan David, like I've spoken about plenty of times before, and also the likes of Diblin, players like this. You could be going for other players. I don't know, there could be other players in the offing for Manchester United, but that's their job to already know what's coming in. And we don't know who Ruben wants. We don't know what the structure are bringing in. So we're all waiting to see what they do bring in. And we'll talk about the reports and everything that's coming out around Manchester United possibles throughout the rest of this season, I'm sure. And going into the summer, it's going to be very, very busy, I feel. But my main thing for this summer, and what I'm always going to cling on to, is like, who leaves? Show the intent early doors in getting the players out to give the room for Ruben to work and bring players through, whether it be in from the transfer window or from the academy. Keep your comments coming in. And let's be real, peeps. Ruben is saying nothing that Rangnick hasn't already said. Exactly what I just said then. Like, we know the problems. We know the situation. Ralph Rangnick laid them all out for us. We've known what the issue is with the Glazers. We've known the problem straight off from the off with Ineos. And what Ruben Amorim is doing is covering nothing up. And right now what you have got, and the only difference that I can see so far is that you've got Ruben coming out and laying it out on the table and an ownership that cannot get rid of him. So now we've got the Ralph Rangnick situation, but we know that Ralph Rangnick, i.e. Ruben Amorim, is going to still be here in the summer. So let's see what happens. This is basically open heart surgery. We've already cut open. And now the work is going to commence this summer. It has to. Because Manchester United will just fall otherwise. Let me see what we've got chat-wise in here. JT says that we don't. There's no players in the first team from Mourinho. There's only a few from Ollie's era. Most of these players are Ten Hags. No, a lot of them are Ten Hags. When you look at the actual squad, there's a lot that's been bought from the last two seasons. What have you got? You've got Bruno Fernandes in there. You've got Harry Maguire in there from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. You could say that Marcus Rashford is Jose Mourinho. Luke Shaw is Jose Mourinho, as well as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. There are so many players. It's mainly Solskjaer and Erik Ten Hag, but we all know. And for the sake of everybody who thinks I'm always having a go at Ten Hag, I'm not going to go in on the players and the obvious transfer carnage that he caused and the mess that he's left behind, Eric, because he clearly has. You can't ignore it, can you? But let's be honest with ourselves. Looking into the summer, it's damaged limitations again. It's repairing the issues from before. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has said it there. And it was a great comment early on in this show. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has pretty much told everybody what we already know. But it's good that everybody looking in understands it and sees it. And Solskjaer does see it. He probably had a similar issue in having players that he had to deal with from 2 or 3 managers before. I mean, Solskjaer took on board, what did he have? He had David Moyes, Louis van Gaal. He had Jose Mourinho players. He had the worst, probably. And Ruben's been brought into, let's just say, the right sort of backing money-wise that Ten Hag got, but the wrong recruitment that Ten Hag got. So, say for instance, if Manchester United spent £500 million in the next 3 windows, I'd be happy with that. I think that's good investment. But I'd feel a lot more confident that we spent £500 million on properly recruited players than what we'd had before. It's not just about the money. It's about who comes in. It's about the player. And I think that's the difference. And right now, this summer, we are about to see real recruitment because we haven't got that money. Maybe this is a blessing in disguise that we haven't got that money to spend like we did before. And we haven't got the idiots running the show, spending that money willy-nilly on the wrong players. I think that's what we're looking at. And I think that ultimately will be the difference this summer. I think even the most sceptical people about what's happening at Manchester United right now will be interested to see how we navigate this summer coming up. I think that's going to be really interesting. For me, I'm looking forward to seeing how they approach it and what players come in. I'm really intrigued to see what they do because they haven't got much options. They haven't got many options. We're hearing about United. We would like Isaac. We would like Osimhen. For me, no. Like, if you got a good deal for Rashford and Anthony, you could maybe afford Victor Osimhen. I don't see them doing it. I see it being in a bigger summer with more players rather than more money spent. And that, I think, is still not going to be enough for a lot of the fan base because you know that that's not the top target players. That's not the elite players. But I don't think Ineos are going to buy elite because Sir Jim Ratcliffe came out and said it from the get-go, didn't he? We're not going to go out and buy Mbappe. We're going to find the next Mbappe. And that's what they want to do. And the fear with the fans, and I can tell it now from conversations that I've seen on other shows and debates and people in my show and my live chat, that you cannot just bring in kids and expect them to move this team forward. It's too big a club for it just to be a bunch of under-21s and younger players with no experience. You need that quality in there. The balance has to be right. Otherwise, we will be going in on players and the pressure will be too much for these younger players. Yeah, the fans will be behind them, but the fans are not going to wait year and year and year while these players develop. There needs to be the now and there needs to be the future all in the same team. And I think the likes of Bruno, maybe Maguire for a season, De Ligt, players like that, I think they're the players right now that should be nurturing the younger players coming through for the next 2 years. And then they need to be gone. That's the maximum I see. Bruno Fernandes, I think, needs to be gone in 2 years. We need to move past him. We do. As much as I love the guy and Player of the Month, congratulations for Bruno Fernandes again. Manchester United's Player of the Month this month. I think that's quite right. But we can't rely on him forever. And time's running out. And hopefully, we've just caught this before. Who is going to come in for Ruben Amorim? I'm hoping that Manchester United steady the ship with younger players. Bruno's still there. And then next season, hopefully we've managed to move forward. Maybe qualify for the top 4. I don't know. But we need to be at that stage ready to bring in someone else next season to replace Bruno. That's what needs to happen. Bruno will be, 31, I think, going on 32, I think, is it? I can't even remember now. I think Bruno's about 30 now. 29, 30 anyway. But yeah, so let's just say 31 going into the start of the 26-27 season. We need to be looking at someone to come in for Bruno then, I feel. And this start now, this transfer window now has to be it. Like, everything needs to be moved into place so we can make them bigger signings later down the line. And I'm excited to see it. I'm worried to see it. And I do fear for what's about to come in the summer. I do. I have that inside me as a fan. I'm really, the anticipation and worrying about what might come for a season under Ineos with no money. Yeah, I am worried because let's not forget, we did spend a lot of that investment from Sir Jim Ratcliffe clearly in the summer. So I am concerned that there isn't going to be enough there for Ruben Amorim. But I'm also excited in a way that that they are going to attack the current squad and move players on because it's necessary. It has to happen. It really does. Get your quotes and comments coming in, everybody. Keep at it. The chat is banging this morning. Lots of people having different debates about everything going on right now. Few people making their mark, I can see. I'm confident of a big summer window and a big season next season, says Tomo in Thailand. Super chatting from Glenn says, under Ten Hag, we went for expensive plastic surgery instead of the needed open heart surgery. Hopefully, the money is spent wisely this time. Yes, I hope it's spent wisely this time as well. And that's everything that I've just said. And that's what, and I'm just going to bring that quote up again from Ruben Amorim about what he said about the owners and their vision. And just come back to me on this as well and get your comments in on this little clip again. It's been played before, but anyone who's just joining us right now, this is what Ruben said on the owners and them being honest with him about what was in front of him and what he was walking into.
I was going to ask, I mean, there's a lot of negativity around the club, but is there anything positive that you can offer the fans going forward?
I think I see a clear path, and I see that from the board also, because they are doing also difficult changes that they are not popular, but they are doing, but because they have a vision, and I think that is clear. But in the future, we need to show some results, because you can do a lot of changes, and if you don't have results, people don't feel confidence and happy. And that is winning games. It doesn't matter.
Honesty. He's just talking about the ownership there and their path and what they see. And that's what he believes in. So if Ruben believes in it and he believes in what's happening, and there was stuff that we're never going to know about. There'll be stuff that we're always going to be waiting to hear about and surprised by, and it just comes out a bit later down the line. We're not going to know everything that's going on. But if he believes in what's going on and he understands what's happening with the ownership model, then I'm happy with backing Ruben Amorim on this. And what I say is, I'm not convincing anybody here that you shouldn't be worried about Ruben Amorim, or you should be thinking that Ruben Amorim is the best thing since sliced bread. I'm just at this point right now, and this is where I think every single United fan is, which is why I take on everyone's comments in the comment section, is you make your own mind up about how you feel about how things are going at Manchester United. Not one fan is wrong. I am not wrong in my eyes. You're not wrong. Your opinion is valid just as much as my opinion. But what I see in Ruben, and the biggest difference right now at Manchester United, for me, is that Ruben Amorim understands everything, and he understands it time-wise. This is something that not any other manager at Manchester United has picked up on before, or even thought that it was a concern. The fact that he knows he hasn't got time to turn players around, that it can get better in the future. Thinking 5 years down the line, like Erik ten Hag was, like Solskjaer was, it's not there. It's not real. This is a modern manager who knows moving up to Manchester United, before he moved, he had to make a mark. And all he talks about is winning games. He needs to win games to earn the right to have the time at Manchester United. And his understanding of United and the situation and everything going on is the only reason I feel like he is the next thing for Manchester United, and is necessary, completely necessary. That's just my opinion on its own. And that's how I see it right now. I cannot go against a man that is being completely open and honest about everything that's going on at Manchester United. I am not going to go against a manager that has pulled a problem that every single fan at this football club has seen for the last decade. I'm not going to pull a manager on selling some of the fan favourites because it's necessary for him to get to what he wants. If he has to sacrifice players in the summer to get what he needs, then he has to do it. And the fans have to be behind him and understanding of him doing it. If he gets rid of Garnacho, for instance, and I'm not making a beeline for Garnacho at all, I would like him to stay. I'm seeing improvement in Garnacho, and personally I want him to be one of them players that is turned around by Ruben Amorim, because that for me is the biggest thing out of all. If there's a player that was an issue or has had problems that Ruben turns around, then that will prove even more than selling a player that Ruben Amorim is the right man to the rest of this squad and all of them kids coming through from the academy. If Garnacho can turn this around and be that man and understand what Ruben wants, that's better than selling him to bring anybody else in right now. I just want to make that point clear, because that is the biggest thing, and the biggest sort of, I would say, positive, and what these young lads coming through would look at It's like, whoa, look at that, he's fallen off. He hasn't been playing well. He's been disciplined, but look at what he's doing now. He's improved. And that helps everybody else within the squad believe in the manager as well. But if Ruben doesn't feel like that's possible, and Ruben feels like he has to sell a Manu, a Garnacho, a Rasmus Højlund, a Bruno Fernandes, whoever it may be in that squad, a Dalot, a Martinez, I don't care. I'm fully behind him because I know he understands where United are at, and I know he understands time. And that is what every other manager before him hasn't. And they have just let these players do what they want. They'll come good. They'll get better. Oh, I can't really be that manager that's going to get rid of one of these favourites. Let's just buy another player on top of that. And then more money's wasted. And more money's wasted. And the same players are still there piling up behind, but you're still buying players on top of players on top of players. And the perfect example of that is the fact of what Ruben Amorim was saying there in his press conference about players understanding that they have to move on. And players understand. In fact, I'm just going to play that one as well again now so you're all aware of what I'm talking about, because there's a lot of people that have just joined us as well. So Ruben Amorim understanding that players are going to go. And I'm going to make my point after this clip as well. In terms of what is going to happen in the summer.
We can talk about that in the end because it's hard to. We have a lot of games still to play and to talk about, but that is clear, and I think that is not a difficult situation because everybody understands that in football sometimes you stay, sometimes you have to move on. If you know how to explain, for me is easy. If I know how to explain, I can do it. Without and I like to do it because I want to be clear. When I was a player also, I try to use all that experience. When you are honest with someone, they can take it like in the beginning it's hard, but they will understand. So I'm quite honest with my players. And
managers not having the balls to make the calls gives you a pile up of mercenaries. That's what that is for me. Ruben says there, players understand that they have to move on in the summer. I've been very honest with my players. That's all we need to know as fans. But what I mean is, the situation has come about by no other manager before Ruben Amorim having the balls to tell these players what's what. That's how I see it. So Ruben Amorim, with the likes of, let's say before, Victor Lindelof was a Jose Mourinho signing. For God's sake, how is that man still at the football club? No one's had the balls to actually say, well, you're going. We're going to take this price. You're not getting a new contract. Away you go. He's still at the club. And Manchester United, since Lindelof has walked through the door, back in, what was it? Was it 2018? Something like that, 2018-19, I think it was. Lindelof coming in. How many? I think it was actually before that. I need to make sure on that one. But you know what I mean. It's like, how many centre-backs has United bought since Lindelof was at the club? We just keep buying on top of buying because no one's making the necessary calls and cuts. And all of a sudden, you've got Ruben in and you've got Anthony and Rashford out of the door. You've got Malacia out of the door. And then players will be sold in the summer. So that's actually a man that knows what he wants and an ownership that understands what that man wants as well. And that, I feel, is how Manchester United will move forward. That's why I feel confident with Ruben Amorim, because he knows what he wants. I'm not saying the other managers did, but they weren't brave enough. They weren't brave enough to make the necessary cuts and calls at Manchester United. And that, for me, is why Ruben Amorim will be successful at this football club. And it won't be just through picking up trophies. I mean, Eric Ten Hag did that SEG podcast, didn't he, the other day? And he was talking again about bringing titles to United. You didn't win one title. You won a trophy. You won a cup. That's it. We were falling and falling and falling. And you were covering it up, everything that was wrong with your recruitment and what you were doing as a manager, by putting these trophies in front of everybody so you couldn't see the bleeding cracks that were all over Manchester United. It wasn't right and it isn't right, I don't feel. But Ruben knows what's happening and Ruben knows. And by the way, everybody, we will be continuing the show over on Football Talks. It's Paper Round after this, everyone, so make sure that you do join us over on Paper Round as well. Please hit that subscribe button here on FUTV if you haven't already. Make sure that you have got your comments in and come into the comment section now, so get them in. We're going to finish with that and all of your thoughts on this one. Happy Sunday to you as well, Broderick. Hope you're doing well. Just around 1100 in the room with us on the Sunday morning. This match day, Fulham this afternoon. If you are at Old Trafford today, come and see me. I will be in my usual spot outside the East Stand, just to the right hand side of the Trinity statue as you look at the stadium, over in the corner there near the hot dog stand, I think it is. Yeah, hot dog stand, yeah. So if you are about at the game today, come over and say hello. Yeah, let's talk football there. But yeah, we will be bringing you all of the matchday content from in and around Old Trafford. Me and Jay will be back today as well with all of our thoughts after the game. Obviously, I'll be outside Old Trafford, and I just want to get through today, get the win done. Like I said yesterday, it would be such a massive positive for Manchester United going into the week with Sociedad and Arsenal if we were into that quarter-final of the FA Cup. It will be big for the fans as well. It will be massive. No other manager had the freedom and structure like Amorim, Moyes, LVG, Mourinho and Ole had Woodward to deal with. Ten Hag seen the change and failed. JT saying there again, yeah. In terms of the managers before, the way the club was run, I do feel sorry for them all. At the time, I was one of these fans that thought, no, it's right. The manager's wrong. And I've said this before. Like, the only manager that's been at Manchester United that made a difference, that you could see a difference with, was LVG. He's the only manager of all of them. Solskjaer could say, yeah, counter-attacking football, blah, blah, blah. But you could see a philosophy. You could see a style with LVG. And I was one of them fans that didn't appreciate it at the time. And I held my hands up and I was wrong. And I will always do that. I will always do that if I feel like I have been completely wrong and didn't look at it the right way. But I didn't see it at the time. I was even excited about Jose Mourinho coming in. I thought it was bad that LVG was being sacked on the day he won the FA Cup final. I thought it was strange and was blown away by it. But I was excited at the time about Jose coming in. I'll be honest about that. And I wasn't thinking about LVG at the time. But when you look back, that was an absolute catastrophe for Manchester United. It was. And that was a sign of things to come and how poorly this football club was going to be run. That was the issue, I feel, back then. And they haven't been able to recover from it. And all they've done in trying to recover from that is spend, and get it completely wrong. I'm just going to take a nice swig of my coffee because we are on double shifts this morning. Extra caffeine, in we go. That's nice. Okay, let's get some comments coming in. Compost Smurf, getting money for Rashi and Anthony this summer is important. Then we don't need to sell younger players. I think we still need to sell the younger players as well, mate. I do. And I think Ineos will be looking at this and trying to find that loophole in financial fair play and PSR with the homegrown players. That's what I think is going to happen. I said it all along, prepare yourself for a bit of upheaval this summer. I really do think that there are going to be some unpopular decisions made in terms of players leaving Manchester United this summer. Andrew says, I may give him time, then judge Amorim. He needs to bring his own players in. A lot of people that are not agreeing are not thinking that Amorim is the right man. I get it. I get that a lot of people are sort of giving up a little bit on Ruben Amorim. I get that people don't see a vision and don't see Manchester United succeeding with him going forward. I'm a different opinion. And that's what we like to do on the show. It's debatable, isn't it? Everyone can see it differently. And everyone may look at the play, look at how worse we are under Ruben Amorim, how the players are not getting it. I look to the future and I look to what is coming at Manchester United probably more than anything. And I feel like he's making the right moves that we've all been bemoaning for a long time. And it is at the expense of results. Yes, I get it. And that's the hard thing. But right now, I still think the United could succeed this season in getting a trophy in the bag. I think the team is good enough to surprise everybody. I mean, I look at the way that City are playing. I look at what's left in the FA Cup. I think the FA Cup's a great opportunity for United to just book their place back in the Europa League next season. And I said it before, I think this confidence boost, if we manage to get the win today, going into that game against Real Sociedad on Thursday evening, I think is huge for Manchester United. Baham says, I feel we need players to have loyalty and love for the club to buy. If you buy loyalty, it is mercenary. Yep. And if you buy broad love, it is escort. JT says, if Amorim was any good, he should be doing better with this lot. They are bad, but they can't be this bad. Yeah, they can, if they're not able to figure out what Ruben wants in his system. Look, he is going to stick to it. They're finding it difficult to adapt to what he wants and the attitude that he wants them to have on the pitch. And I still back him on it. I think the results will get better before the end of the season. And I do believe we will finish a little bit higher than where we are now. And let's not forget, like, Erik ten Hag left us in 13th place, and no one's talked about that. We're still pretty much in and around the same position, except we've had a lot of change behind the scenes, and it's all for the greater good, I feel. I'm not going to judge Ruben still until next season when he's got a few more of his players in. That's it. Then we can start really dissecting everything, I feel. This is the worst United squad I've ever seen, and it started before Ruben. Of course it is. It started way before Ruben. It started before bloody Ten Hag as well. Let's be honest. It's been going for a long time. Unpopular opinion, but I'd be accepting of Ghana and Mainu going if the money is right, and they'd be replaced with young talented players. Those two could finance 6 incomings more, in fact. Erik ten Hag wasn't a bad manager, but these players have such low IQ, they couldn't understand his system. Nothing has changed in that respect. Disagree with that. And I don't think he's a good manager. I really don't. I think he abandoned his own philosophy within 2 days, and that I won't forgive. That's my opinion on that. I understand what you're trying to say. The player IQ, you're dead right on that one, no, personally. Jeffrey says as well, totally agree with that, but look at Dalot in the game. A perfect example of a player putting in a performance but hasn't done it since. I think it's people just there talking about previous managers. MA says LVG was actually a good coach with a style of play. Was boring at times, but won a trophy. More time with LVG might have been different for Manchester United. It could have been. Anyway. Right, that is the show all wrapped up, everybody. Thank you so much. We're going to move over to Football Talks right now to do the paper round. Did you see that tackle on Mateta yesterday? We're talking about that. We're talking about the FA Cup. We're going into all sorts of different news around the papers as well this morning. Wow, yes, that tackle. I'm going in on that first of all. Come and join me on Football Talks. You will be redirected from this show. But for now, everybody, that is us all wrapped up. Please give the video a like on the way out. Make sure you have subscribed to Forever United TV. And I will see you over on Football Talks. Link is in the chat now. See you in just a moment, everybody.